Hello everyone, welcome to the first video on the channel, and from this particular video, we'll be beginning the constitutional law series on your channel Lawpedia. And the very first lesson that we'll be taking up over here is pertaining to the fundamental rights enumerated in the Indian Constitution. And for this particular video, you will get what does the right to equality imply, what are the judicial interpretations or opinions laid down by the Supreme Court on the same. Firstly, we need to know the what. The fundamental rights have been enshrined in the Part 3 of the Indian Constitution from Article 12 to Article 35. So by the time we complete this particular series of the Constitution law, I can assure you if you follow diligently, you will be able to remember all the articles from 12 to 35. Now, the inspiration, we always have to ask from where have the constitutional makers gathered the inspiration of this particular article so that we can trace its origin itself. You will be surprised to know that the inspiration of our fundamental rights has been taken from the Constitution of the United States of America. Also, what's interesting to note is that some of them are available to the citizens while others are available to all persons, whether citizens, foreigners or legal person. Now, another crucial and important point that you must note over here is the fundamental rights are not absolute but qualified. What do I mean by when I'm saying it's not absolute? It's not absolute means it is coming with certain restrictions in order to maintain peace, tranquility, integrity and the various other notions of the country. And the next is they are defended and guaranteed by the Supreme Court of India. Why do I say this? Whenever a fundamental right has been violated, you have an article present in the Constitution itself. You can approach to the Supreme Court. So the defender and the guarantor of the fundamental rights is often termed the Supreme Court of India. The fundamental rights are suspended during national emergency except the rights guaranteed by Article 20 and 21. Now this lesson will just give you an overview, so I'm not going into the details of what is national emergency because we'll be taking up that particular topic in our further series. So we move on to the next point. The next point is justiciable. So what does that mean? That means that if your fundamental right is violated, you have very much right in the Constitution itself to approach the Supreme Court. Apart from the fundamental right, another component in the Constitution of India is Directive Principle of State Policy or DPSP, which is non-justiciable. That means it is only given to guide the states in order to promote the social or the economic welfare of the citizens. However, the fundamental rights have been given a step up or a step ahead from the directive principles, and the nature of the fundamental rights has been provided as justiciable. Now, next is negative and positive rights. Now, some of the fundamental rights, as we go along the lessons, you will realize there are negative. Negative fundamental rights essentially means they impose certain restrictions. They impose certain barriers within which you should operate or within which the state should operate. On the other hand, the positive fundamental rights are those that confer certain privileges like right to religious freedom, which confers the freedom to profess, practice and propagate any religion, and the cultural and educational rights given in the Constitution itself. Now, I hope you got an idea or a base that what are fundamental rights. After understanding some of the key features of the what of the fundamental rights, we need to move on to the categories. So this particular flow chart enumerates the all possible broad categories of fundamental rights in the Constitution of India. The first is right to equality, which is being enumerated in Article 14 to 18. Next is right to freedom, which is being stated in Article 19 to 22 of the Indian Constitution. We'll be taking up this particular right in the coming series of our lecture. Next is right against exploitation, which is stated in Article 23 to 24 of the Indian Constitution. The next comes your right to freedom of religion, which becomes even more important in the wake of the rising cases or the difficulties with respect to the religion and the freedom of citizens. So this is stated in Article 25 to 28. Then we have cultural and educational rights, which have been very much stated under the articles 29 to 30. And the last but not the least, which is a very important right without which all the rights would not be assured, which is the right to constitutional remedies stated in the Article 32 of the Indian Constitution. So I hope, as I just discussed all the key broad components of our fundamental rights, you are able to have an idea in your own mind how are the fundamental rights essentially divided in categories. Now, moving forward, as I've just discussed that we'll be covering right to equality, one particular right, that is the Article 14 under the right to equality. Let's move forward. Article 14, which states equality before law and equal protection of law. Mind you, there are two components in the article itself. First is the equality before law and second is the equal protection of law. I will just read the complete article for you. If you have your Beracs, you can very well read with me. Otherwise, you can just listen. The Article 14 of the Indian Constitution states that the state shall not deny to any person equality before law or equal protection of the laws within the territory of India. Each word becomes important and we need to understand. Now I'll be breaking down the Article 14 for you. But while we are talking about equality, we must, as a citizen of India, be very much aware what is the right to equality and what are the various provisions under the same. So the first and the foremost point that you must note over here is the Article 14 is conferred to all, that is the citizens as well as the foreigners. Means it is conferred to everybody and it is not restricted to only the citizens of India. Now, I'm breaking down both the components for you. Equality before law. What do you mean by equality before law? Pause and just think for a minute before reading any further. What do you understand by the term equality before law? Break the term and just understand in your mind before reading. So I hope you did that little exercise. Equality before law basically means absence of any special privileges in favor of any person. The second is and equal subjection of all the persons to ordinary law of the land. Equality before law, a concept in the Article 14 itself has two concepts in it. Just break it down like that. So equality before law, absence of any special privileges. Nobody should be given any special privileges and the equal subjection of all persons to the ordinary law. So if you are not providing special privileges, you are subjecting a person equally to the ordinary law of the land. And another important fact that you may note over here is, where do we get this concept of equality before law? How did our constitutional makers even think of this particular concept? The concept of equality before law is of British origin, while the concept of equal protection of laws, which we'll be studying further, is of the American Constitution. And the third dimension is no person is above law. So it has three dimensions: absence of special privileges, equal subjection of all persons to ordinary law, and no person is above law. Now the second concept is equal protection of laws. First is equality of treatment under equal circumstances. Next is similar application of laws. And third is like to be treated alike without any discrimination. Now the first concept that we studied earlier, that is equality before law, means absence of any special privileges and subjection of person to ordinary law. Second concept talks about equal protection of laws. Thus, as we observe, the former or the equality before law is a negative concept, while the equal protection of law is a positive concept. The first concept that we just studied talks about equality before law. This talks about absence of any privileges. That means it's a negative concept. The second concept that you will note over here is equal protection of law, which talks about equality of treatment under equal circumstances, similar application of laws, and like to be treated alike without any discrimination. This is a positive concept. This confers how the law will be treating individuals. It's not a restriction, rather it's a power given to the law which focuses on similar application of laws. Now, another important fact to note over here is Article 14 permits reasonable classification. If we are talking about equality before law, if we are saying person A and person B should be equal, should be treated alike, should be given equal opportunities and should be conferred equal privileges, the Article 14 says that please wait, go back to their history, check whether these persons are competent even to be compared. Can you permit a reasonable classification to be made between person A and person B? And if you're formulating such law or legislation which confers certain privileges to B or provides certain opportunities to A, and it permits reasonable classification to be made between both the persons, and it justifies and it is within the objectives, yes, we will permit, and it will not be a violation of Article 14. And the next statement rightly justifies that the classification should be based on intelligible differential. That means it should have some reasonableness in itself. The classification cannot be arbitrary. The legislation has to justify for what the classification is being done, and when the court will see, okay, the classification is reasonable, it can be done, it enhances or it promote certain sections of the society to achieve their goals, yes, we will permit it, and yes, it will not be in the violation of Article 14. So long story short, equality before law and equal protection of all laws permits reasonable classification. The classification should be reasonable, not arbitrary and not invasive. Now, coming forward in understanding the judicial opinion on Article 14, going one step further into understanding what the nature of Article 14 is all about, we must understand that the objective of Article 14 is to secure to all persons, citizens, non-citizens, the equality of status and opportunity as referred to in preamble. It's that important an article that it has been referred to preamble. It relates to the preamble, which is often called the index of the Constitution of India. Please understand the importance of Article 14 before we move on to the judicial opinion or the judicial perspective of the courts which have been developed over the years with respect to the same. Whenever I'm using a word person in context of Article 14, it is gender neutral. That means it includes transgenders as well. Often Article 14 is termed to be the genus and 15 and 16 are termed to be the species. Article 14 is the origin. We must understand the articles, don't worry, I'm just stating articles right now. Article 15 and 16 I'll be discussing in detail about them, but Article 14 is often called the genus. So right now we are studying a very important article. If you get this right, if you get the judicial opinion right, it will be easier for you to understand the other articles later. It's that important an article that the Supreme Court has said that violation of this particular article is the violation of the basic structure of the Constitution, the foundation of the Constitution of India. And Article 14 and 21 are also called the heart of the chapter on fundamental right. So right now you're studying a part of the heart of the chapter of fundamental rights, so be attentive and be very eager to learn what is the judicial opinion with respect to the same. And if you have any doubts up until here, you can write down in the comment section below. So let's see what all points I have stated over here. Right to equality had been declared by the Supreme Court as the basic feature of the Constitution of India. Please correct spellings. It's equality, not quality. I'm sorry for it and I'll make sure it does not happen in the future. According to the courts, all persons in similar circumstances are to be treated alike both in privileges and in liabilities. Now, as I read on this statement, where do you emphasize? You emphasize all persons in similar circumstances. You will understand, I'll just be discussing why do I use similar circumstances, why do I write similar over here? Why don't I just write all the persons in these circumstances, irrespective of whether they're similar or not, should be treated alike? No, that's not the case. You can't treat A and B similar if they are in a different circumstances and they're clearly distinguishable. Why? Mechanical equality before law may lead to injustice. Continuing with my example, if I treat A and B alike and they have different circumstances, they have different backgrounds, they have different socio-economic parameters, and I'm treating them alike in any particular field, how will I lead to justice? Mechanical equality just on the basis of Article 14 will lead to pure injustice itself, as all persons are not equal by nature, by circumstances, etc. The varying needs need differential and separate treatment. Okay, so that's the concept why we are not focusing on mechanical equality. The article prohibits class legislation. It does not prohibit reasonable classification of the persons, objects, and transactions by the legislature for achieving specific ends. Ignore the big statement. The Article 14 permits you reasonable classification. If you're reasonably classifying person P and Q, congratulations, good to go. You have a good reason. Article 14 will not stand in your way and you can go ahead with whatever you're doing. And it's achieving a specific end, which can be, substantiated in court. But if, my dear friends, you are going on an unreasonable classification, which is arbitrary, invasive, you don't have any proof, why are you differentiating between P and Q or A or B for that matter, Article 14 will come to the rescue. Now, the two basic things that we take out of the Article 14 are, it permits reasonable classification as per the courts, and it ensures equality and fairness of treatment. I've already discussed the concept of equality and fairness of treatment, but we are discussing over here the concept of reasonable classification. In the case, if you want to note, Lakshmi Khansari versus State of UP, the Supreme Court has laid down two tests for reasonable classification. So when I'm stating permits reasonable classification, you as students may ask, what is reasonable classification? What are the parameters? How do we define it? Very good, that's a very valid doubt. Reasonable classification, please note, it should not be arbitrary, as I'm just been speaking out throughout the lecture, invasive. It should be based on some real and substantial distinction. Please have your valid points ready. Why are you distinguishing it? Reasonable, define, reason. Okay. The second is the differentiation should be rational, or it should have some reasonable nexus with the object to be achieved. Please don't get bogged down by the difficult language. When I'm saying reasonable nexus, you have an object to be achieved, like you want a socio-economic equality, you want the not so privileged candidate and the privileged candidate in a school or a college to be treated similarly. So for that, if you're providing certain reservations or certain provisions to the not so privileged child, that defines the object part. What is the object sought to be achieved? Socio-economic equality, justice, okay, which is often stated in the preamble itself. Now, the Supreme Court has also said to overdo classification is to undo equality. At the same time, when I'm talking about that, the courts will look on to why is there a reasonable classification or not? What is the source of the classification? Why are you classifying A and B or P and Q for that matter? The Supreme Court also warns over here that if you're overdoing classification, that means you're undoing equality. You can't be just searching why the classification was reasonable. So, to overdo classification is to undo equality. You need to have a balance. Now, another important thing, Supreme Court also has said financial benefits made available to those who had been invalidated because of their tenure was reduced on account of disability, war, or retirement in normal course will not amount to violation of Article 14. Last important point in this particular slide is the burden of proof. After understanding all the theory, one may ask, burden of proof, Okay, violation of Article 14. Who will take the onus of proving there is a violation? The burden is on the person who seeks to impeach the validity of law on ground that it violates Article 14. If I am going to court stating that Article 14 has been violated, I need to be ready with all the papers, with all the evidences to show the court that yes, there is a violation of Article 14 and yes, my rights have been violated. Okay, why is the case? Because there is a presumption in favor of constitutionality of the enactment. So if I'm going to the court that please see Article 14 has been violated, onus is on me to produce the necessary facts and figures to establish that I have been treated differently and there is a violation of Article 14. The next slide is very important, and this slide you'll see in all the lectures ahead. It's revise, repeat, and remember. The R-cube strategy. Please pause the video. The video has been quite long this time because I'm starting with the fundamental rights, giving you an introduction. Please pause the video and just close your eyes and think over what all can you remember, what all we have discussed. We have discussed fundamental rights, we have discussed its features, we have discussed the categories of rights, and what right have we covered today is the right to equality, Article 14. That is equality before law and equal protection of law. Two concepts taken from the British and the American Constitution, enumerates various aspects of the equality and how this particular Article 14 is conferred to citizens as well as the foreigners. We have understood what is reasonable classification. After understanding the basic things about right to equality, we move forward to understanding the judicial opinion on the same, how far Supreme Court has interpreted Article 14 and what were the key features of the same. We understood what is classification, when a classification will become arbitrary, can an arbitrary classification be permitted, how can we categorize the arbitrary classification, if there is an enactment to achieve certain objects, will it be permissible, what is Article 14, what is equality. I'm asking you questions so that you can go back to the information you have just processed and you're able to remember something. Thank you so much for watching and stay tuned for more videos on your channel Lawpedia. Thank you.